Hello there, my name is Sixo, but more on that later, as now it's time for a brand new unboxing video. And today is something I've been looking forward to for quite some time. Yes, it's a third-party take on the big screen Robo-Dad himself. Here's Toyworld's Freedom Leader. Absolutely insane box, very exciting package. Can't wait to check it out today. His name is Optimus Prime.
TW-F09 Freedom Leader is the latest release from Toyworld and sees them tackling one of the most celebrated designs from the recent Bumblebee movie. It's Optimus Prime. This transformable toy brings the iconic Autobot leader to life in stunning detail and is loaded with accessories and gimmicks, all promising to make for a very enjoyable package indeed. Of course, Optimus makes a memorable appearance in the film itself, first cropping up in the much-beloved opening sequence set on Cybertron, where he leads a band of classic Autobots in battle against the Decepticons. Despite overwhelming odds, he manages to steer his troops away from danger and crops up again later to welcome them to a new home on Earth. Like many of the G1-esque Bumblebee designs, this take on Optimus is one that a lot of fans really admire. So I can't wait to see what Toyworld have done with it, and how it compares to the recent officially licensed 3.0 release. Last thing before we begin, today's video comes courtesy of TF Source, so I'll put a link to their site in the video description too. The plan for today is to give you my first impressions before getting a full photo review up on their blog soon. Right then, here is Toyworld Freedom Leader. Otherwise known as Tactics Waistcoat, as you can see, just written here. This is the deluxe version, so it features a few more accessories. We'll go through the box in just a minute. But first thing to note is this very attractive artwork on the front of Optimus Prime, just there. And the box itself is absolutely massive. Really, really quite something. I had quite the shock when I first saw it. Just how large it is, and very heavy as well, so can't wait to see the contents. So this is one that I've been quite tremendously excited about for some time actually, ever since it was first unveiled, even before that with the prototype images that we first saw. Right, well I've obviously opened it upside down, it seems, but no problem, because we'll just go ahead and flip it over. My word, it is heavy. There's a lot of stuff in here as well. This looks like an absolutely crazy package. I can't even tell you. My word, I don't think I've ever seen so many accessories with one toy. This is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. So I'm just going to comb through everything and just see what's in here. Let's go. Right, well we'll start with one of the biggest pieces anyway, which of course is this display stand, which is absolutely massive and takes up quite a bit of real estate in the box. It also has this piece as well, which is designed to plug in on the top. We'll take a look at that in just a minute. And it's got 4 lights here. You can see they're slightly articulated.
We will fight on, regroup, rebuild, and retake our home. But we must find refuge first. You will travel to Earth. Once we gather, the others will join you. You must protect the planet. If the Decepticons find it, then our people are truly finished. Stay safe, soldier. I am coming.
Okay, so I definitely didn't expect that. That was not at all intended to go off in that way. That's absolutely mad. Okay, so I've obviously turned it on. There's a little switch. I was just fiddling with it a minute ago in preparation for the review. That's hilarious. There's a little switch just here, so I'm guessing that's what actually activates it. I couldn't get it to work before, and then of course on camera the damn thing goes off. Look at that. So yeah, there is a little switch just there. What's really weird, so there are these 4 lights that you maybe just saw go off just there. I was literally stood there like, what? Do you know what I mean? The weird thing is that there's also a plug, so it comes with this wire, and it also comes with a little plug as well, as you can see just here. And I had tried plugging it in. I even got a little adapter and whatever else. I was thinking, okay, I better figure this thing out before trying to film it. And I couldn't get it to work, and then it goes off on camera the first time. Oh well. There you go. It's yeah, so it lights up. How fun is that? What also included is a little remote control, so we'll figure that out in a minute, and also some extra batteries for the various electronics, and indeed some instructions, which I cannot read. So that should be interesting trying to figure it out. Then moving on to the kind of more actual accessories themselves, you've got four guns. I feel like Neo in the Matrix here. It's absolutely mad. They've all got light up features, I think, or at least some of them do, so we'll take a look at that in a little bit, but they're really nicely detailed. They are plastic, but they kind of got this brushed metal finish, which looks really, really cool. So yeah, we'll come back to those in just a sec. Then you have these two blast effect pieces as well. They kind of remind me of the ones that come with Earthrise Scorponok, if anything, but they're quite nice and detailed. And I think you can... Yeah, they do sort of separate into different little bits as well. So nice touch. You get these various pieces, which are swap out little panels to go on the robot mode and the truck mode, and they're kind of more of an earthen look than his current Cybertronian form. The toy out of the box has equivalent pieces for these, which look more like his how he appears in the opening sequence in the Bumblebee movie on Cybertron. If you want to transform him to vehicle mode, these are the pieces that you're going to need. So we'll take a look at those properly in just a bit. And in a similar twist, you've got these little kind of more earthen tyres which go over his wheels. Currently he's got kind of more Cybertronian looking wheels on. Well, again, we'll take a look at that in a second. And you can swap these out for a more earthen touch. They are rubber, got a bit of a squish to them, as you can see, so that's very nice. There's a spare pair of hands, which you can see here. They're molded into place, and that's for holding his weapons. He does come with articulated hands, though, actually on the figure. You won't need to swap them out for different hand poses, but we'll take a look at these in just a bit. Then you've got this spare head, which took me a minute to work out, actually, but because I thought it was just like a spare head for Freedom Leader, but actually it's for the 3-0 Optimus Prime, which of course is the non-transforming but officially licensed sort of replica of the movie model. So we'll take a look at that in a bit, but that's quite weird. The eyes light up on this one as well, so very, very strange that Toyworld would include a spare head for that figure, but there you go. There's a little baggie with some additional pieces, which looks to be like windscreen wipers and other bits like that. Then you get these metal plates. Well, I say they're metal, they are actually plastic, but they kind of got this brushed metal effect on them anyway. They look really, really nice. These are actually for assembling two storage boxes of kinds. I mean, I think, you could use them to put the accessories in. That seems to be the thing that a lot of people are saying, you could do with them. Whether they're actually intended for that or not, I'm not sure, but, that's certainly what you could do with them. I really like them. They're, as you can see on the one side, just bare plastic, but they've got kind of this sort of painted metallic look. We'll go ahead and assemble these in just a minute. This is the smaller one, and then you've got this well, it's more shallow but more rectangular version as well. So again, exactly the same as before, just a different sort of shape and size. We'll go ahead and get these built shortly. And finally, you've got this sort of sword weapon, which it looks really, really nice. It's got the same sort of metallic brushed paint effect on the sort of handle bit on the main body, and then it's got this translucent orange around the side, which doesn't look quite as good, but it's still quite nice. It's okay. And it does split into half this, and you can hold it in his hands, so we'll check that out shortly. And then, of course, you've got the toy itself, which, right out the box looks really quite stunning, actually. Can't wait to check it out in detail. But yeah, it certainly looks pretty magnificent. And that's your lot. And my word, what a package, right? I mean, that is a lot of stuff in one box. Hence, it's so heavy when it first arrives. But yeah, loads of accessories, really, really loaded down with them. Some people may love that. And, I'm sure that some people may think that that's just too much stuff. Of course, you don't have to get the deluxe version. And then, if you just get the regular version, it doesn't come with the light up stand. And one or two other bits, but still, it's a great package overall. I can't wait to check it all out and see what a difference it makes. But yeah, clearly Toyworld have really tried to maximize the amount of stuff that comes in this box, rightly or wrongly. Right, well, let's go ahead and talk about this toy, shall we? I mean, it looks just really, really quite striking out of the box, loaded with detail, really nice paint applications from what I can see. The molding is just off the chain, do you know what I mean? Really, really cool. Have noticed a couple of bits that I'm, going to talk about in terms of QC and stuff so far. That's just, based on a first impression. But yeah, certainly it looks pretty striking. I mean, even from a rear view, if you turn him around, very, very clean robot form overall.
Not much in the way of kibble, or certainly, you know, what there is folded away very nicely. And I'm sure, you know, a lot of people will be saying, oh, I can't believe that this thing transforms, but indeed it does. So let's take a look at it in terms of, you know, close-up detail, shall we? So the first thing to look at is, of course, that head sculpt, which is really quite something indeed. It's absolutely beautiful. Very, very detailed, really nice recreation of the kind of, you know, the movie model. You can see all of the molding on the mouthplate just here, which the mouthplate does move as well. We'll take a look at that in just a second. But yeah, I think they've done a very good job with the sculpt, all things considered. I think it looks great. There is some movement to be had here as well. The antennas do move just slightly, you know, if indeed you want them to. And as you've already seen, the mouthplate does move as well to kind of replicate him talking. The only thing with that is that, well, it doesn't really hold in place. It should, you know, obviously kind of sit there, but it just droops down, which is very, very annoying. I mean, if you push the head just down like that, then it will stay, you know, obviously kind of through friction against the kind of neck section just there. But yeah, typically speaking, it does not want to hold in place. Very, very loose indeed. The eyes, I think, do light up on this one as well, but I cannot get it to work. It should be a little button in the head crest just there. In fact, the spare head that comes for the 30 Prime, that works just fine, but I cannot get this one to work, so I'm going to have to fiddle with it a little bit. Consequently, his eyes do look, you know, just a little bit dead. I mean, they kind of catch the light. They've got the kind of translucent plastic, and they will catch the light if you get it just at the right angle, but yeah, just typically playing around with the toy, they do look a little bit kind of dead, unfortunately. Then of course you come down to the chest section, and he's got his iconic chest doors just here, chest windows. These come with a little bit of plastic over them in the box just to protect them. One thing I haven't installed yet is those windscreen wipers, which should just peg in like so. These are very, very soft plastic, as you can see, so they're going to be kind of, you know, flying around all over the place, if anything. I think they could have been a little bit more durable, because they just look like they're going to bend out of shape or whatever, but still, and loads of nice detail going on here as well. Yeah, there we go. I got both those windshield wipers in place now, and I'm not a big fan, to be honest. I wish they'd just molded those pieces in plastic. Even if they, you know, didn't pop out quite as much or whatever else. I don't know. It's a weird solution to me to have them kind of made of that rubbery plastic. Doesn't quite work, but hey ho. Some really nice weathered paint applications all over this guy, just as, you know, here on the shoulder. I mean, they're literally loaded with them, and they look really, really cool. Add to the detail and certainly make it look like quite a premium toy overall. I mean, you can see another example just here on the top of the chest doors, you know, again, where the paint is kind of looks like it's peeling away. I mean, it's by design. I think it looks superb. Some beautiful sculpted detail in areas such as the arms, this mechanical detail, all these little cogs, everything. It just looks gorgeous. Really nice silver paint on there too, and some little paint applications such as the yellow just here. It looks marvelous. Worth just doing a quick close-up on the kind of abdomen section and the crotch plate just here. I mean, that all looks just terrific. Again, super sculpted detail, wonderful. Quite a lot to talk about on the back of the toy as well. I mean, it's quite kibble-free, it's fair to say, which is really, really good. I think Toyworld seem like they've done a really good job at kind of compacting everything on the back section just there and kind of really shrinking it down. And actually, all credit to them, they've done a very good job at kind of recreating this spine piece here in the middle, which is, you know, accurate to the kind of character model. And if anything, it doesn't look too far off what 30 have done with their non-transforming version, so quite impressed with that. Want to talk about these legs for a second, as they're absolutely loaded with detail. Again, really nice, you know, weathered silver paint on the thighs just here. All of that kind of robotic detail just seeping into the blue. You know, I keep saying it, but it just looks awesome. And then on the outside of the legs, you've got these wheels, which at the moment look more Cybertronian in nature. You've got these kind of, you know, more robotic style tires. Of course, you can swap these out, which we'll do in a bit, for the more earthen style. So look forward to that, but these look really cool in the meantime. So yeah, all told, marvelous looking figure. We'll check out his articulation and stuff just now, but certainly just in terms of the pure aesthetic, the look, wow, they've really, really crushed it, gotta say. So yeah, let's check out the articulation anyway. So the head is quite freely moving. It can obviously go side to side, very far up, a little bit down as well, which helps to keep that faceplate in place. But yeah, it's very freely moving indeed. Now the arms have you know, decent range outward. The joints are not super tight. I mean, you'll see there's a bit of give in it just there, but it's not bad, certainly. And then they can go, all the way up and round as well. And then there is a slight sort of butterfly hinge in there as well, which is cool. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of feels quite similar to what you get on a lot of modern Masterpiece toys. So, you've got maybe a bit more posability there. It's not a great deal, but it's something. As for the rest of the arm, there is a really decent hinge, which will actually go all the way up. So quite a good range at the elbow just there. It's kind of double jointed. Very, very stiff joints on the elbow though, really stiff indeed. And of course there's a bicep swivel as well. Again, that's pretty tight. Right, coming around to the hands, they've got quite a decent range of motion. All 4 fingers and the thumb are all separately articulated. So you've got a lot that can be done with those, as you can see. And again, the thumb has multiple joints as well. That's just on a ball joint just there. That all feels fine. And then the wrists are on a ball joint as well. The wrists, this one's not too bad on the left arm. It does feel a little bit loose. The right arm is worse actually, as I've noticed. So we'll check that out more when he's trying to hold his guns. But yes, certainly they could do with being a bit tighter, I think. Coming down to the middle, you of course have a waist swivel. Well, I say of course, it's not the easiest at all. Kind of interacts a little bit with the kind of hip skirt just there. So there is a waist swivel. It doesn't go very far at all, and no kind of ab crunch to speak of. What is weird though, and I have to comment on now, is this top section, the way that it meets the midriff. It's not really kind of pegged in very securely at all. So, I mean, this happens a lot where the whole thing kind of splits open. You can see there's a lot of movement. I've tried as I might, I cannot find a way to get this tabbed in properly. I'm not sure it does. And so you're kind of left with this movement, really. It's very hard to not have that happen. So that is quite irritating, I've got to be honest. Right, coming down to the legs, and of course you've got decent range at the hips just there with the old thighs. You've got to move the hip skirt out of the way, but that's not so bad. It's fairly small and inoffensive, and then they will come up just to 90 degrees, so that's pretty good. Those joints feel good too, and then you can get them out to the side also. Bit of a squeak going on. There are these side hip skirts as well, but they really don't get in the way, and there's a bit of a, it's on a ball joint there, so quite decent articulation overall. As for the knees, you can get very decent range at the knees on account of this double hinge just there. That is truly appreciated. That's going to make for some awesome poses. I really love it when toys are able to get that much range at the knee, because it just makes them, so much more kind of dynamic overall. I think that's great. And coming down to the feet, you do have a bit of ankle tilt inward, just like that. Nothing outward, sadly. But still that's really, really good. A bit of toe articulation, just like that, and a bit of he says, bit of back and forth on the feet overall. There you go. All of which means that he poses really, really nicely on the whole. I mean, he just looks terrific when you do get him into a decent stance. Really very dynamic. Absolutely love the legs. I think that's the highlight for me. Just because of the knees are just superb. The feet do give you quite a bit. I do wish there was maybe a little bit more kind of outward range with the feet, but hey ho, it's good. The hips, give you enough. So yeah, very, very great articulation available on the legs. The arms, good as well, do you know what I mean? And certainly hold. These, as I said, these hands do just feel slightly loose. Not too bad, but I suspect once we get some guns in there, it might show up a bit more, so we'll see. Waist articulation is a little bit lacking, got to be honest. That is a little bit lacking. And it does still annoy me how this faceplate will just not stay in place. So, but overall, you know what? He poses superbly. He looks stunning, really stunning, gotta say. I mean, case in point, he's just tons of fun to pick up, mess around with, pose. I think he looks great on a shelf. I'm quite impressed so far. Do you know what I mean? It's not that there aren't a few little grumbles, obviously we've got to check out all the accessories, but certainly from a look perspective, they've nailed it. Really, really nailed it. Right, now one thing I am itching to do then with the accessories is check out these boxes, and I've just been through and made sense of it, and it seems like there's a very distinct way that they have to combine. So like the two pieces, they may just clip together very easily, but each piece has its place. You can't just put them together any way that you might want to. So you have to kind of find like where everything lines up specifically, and if you get it wrong, quite simply it's not going to go. But it seems like they clip together pretty easily, so let's have a look. Right, well here's the more boxy example of the two, and I've just got to put the, I guess you could call it the lid on, and indeed, you know, you could put in you know, loads of the accessories if you want to, and keep them in there. That might be a little handy storage box for you. And then yeah, same thing here. Look, you've got to get everything just at the right orientation in order for the different pieces to snap together. But once they do, it feels very, very secure. I think these look really cool. I really like them. Nice finish, as I mentioned earlier. And yeah, very, very cool accessory. I'll be using that in a lot of photos, I'm sure. And then here's the more kind of rectangular box, which also looks really, really cool. I mean, I think in terms of fitting all of the guns in there, you're going to struggle because, well, obviously some of them are just a little bit too big, but you should be able to get at least some of the smaller ones in there. I mean, that'll definitely fit for starters. So speaking of guns, let's go ahead and check them out. These are the first two, the sort of smaller blasters. No noise effects or anything with these, but we'll go ahead and try them out in his hand. So it's the familiar old story. There's just a little peg on the inside which corresponds with the palm, and you just want to go ahead and tab that in, wrap the fingers around, and that's quite easy to do. It does feel relatively secure. It doesn't feel particularly like it's going to go anywhere. But again, I alluded to this earlier, but that wrist, you can already see here with the weight of the gun in place. There you go. It's just not strong enough. The ball joint, ultimately, it's not tight enough. So that is going to flop around a little bit, unfortunately. In the good news, you can just wrap his forefinger around the trigger. So that's always something that I think is quite cool on toys like this. So it just adds a little bit to the display. It does feel a little bit better on this side, to be fair, on this arm with the other gun. Not quite as bad still, not as tight as I would want, but better all the same. In any case, he looks absolutely terrific with those guns in hand. I mean, he's really quite, you know, menacing and ready for action, all things considered. I don't know why, it really reminds me, the look of it and the guns, the style of the guns, really reminds me of a Generation 2 kind of vibe, you know, particularly the comic, you know, the old This Is Not Your Father's Autobot and all of that gubbins. It just kind of really has that, that same vibe to me somehow. I think it looks awesome. I'm not quite sure why, but on this gun, you can just tilt the kind of ammo section to the side like that. I'm presuming that's a stylistic thing. I'm not really a gun aficionado, so I can't, you know, in all good faith say why that would be. It does swing to both sides, but there you go. And then if you really want, you can also go ahead and plug in some of the weapons effect pieces just like that as well to kind of complete the look. Next up, you've got this longer rifle, which does have a sound effect, as we'll see, and just looks really quite awesome. This to me looks a little bit more reminiscent of Optimus Prime's kind of classic ion blaster, so very cool. And lo and behold, it looks pretty cool when held in two hands like this. I've always been a big fan of seeing robots, you know, with two hands on a gun like that. I don't know, it's just something about the pose that I just think is inherently cool. And this one does it really, really nicely, probably better than most examples I can think of, actually. And of course, you can just plug in, oops, wrong one. There are two different sizes. This is the fatter end. There we go. You can just plug in the weapons effect piece as well to kind of complete the look. And there is also a sound effect gimmick in this gun. I have just found it's a little bit temperamental though, so let's give it a go. There you go. You can just see it lights up on the end as well. Yeah, when I say it's temperamental, I really mean it. There we go. If you hold it down, it goes for longer as well and gives you a different sound. But yeah, it's really not the most reliable. As evidenced, you can see there. So, nice idea, execution, maybe not the best. And then finally, you get this sort of sniper rifle piece as well, which looks great. You can fold the legs out like this, which I think is super cool. And of course, it takes one of the blast effect pieces as well. And this one also comes with some electronics, although actually it's a little bit more reliable than the other one. So if you press it once, it gives you one effect. So that works really nicely. And if you hold it down, it's a different sound again. Not too different, but a little bit. So that gives you an idea. Overall, this one works really well to my eye. It could maybe just be doing with a little bit louder, but it's fine. And lo and behold, of course, you can have him in this kind of sniper pose, should you wish. It actually looks really, really cool. Does pull it off quite well. Very hard to get the hand wrapped around the handle in that pose. Very, very hard indeed. But still, you know what? I think it's a bit of fun, isn't it? I like it. In any case, all of this weaponry is a lot of fun and really makes Prime look armed to the teeth. Gotta love those boxes, gotta love all the guns. You know, there's quite a lot of fun to be had. It's fair to say, and it just looks really, really cool. Right, let's talk about this blade weapon, because it looks really neat, and it just splits apart. It doesn't go in one piece just like that, and then you actually end up with two blades, so the handles kind of fold out like so. Now these plastic pieces, these clear plastic pieces, have a real habit of popping off. They do just kind of clip on quite loosely, actually, just like that. So I don't know, I might be tempted to maybe glue that in place or something, because it's a little bit annoying. But you just unfold the one like that, and then the second one is the same. That's quite stiff, the little handles, they just come out like that. So let's go ahead and check them out in his hands. Okay, there we go. They just peg in exactly the same way as those guns, and they do feel quite secure once they're in, although they're maybe a little bit more difficult to get in there, just on account of their sort of size, and they are a bit weighty as well. So you can see they, you know, the old wrists are struggling a little bit there to hold them up, which is a shame. I mean, you can get it to kind of stand in a better pose, but it's definitely a consideration. Having said that, I do think they look really, really cool. Really love the translucent plastic here. I think actually there's a nice kind of shine to it when the light goes through it, and overall I think that looks pretty menacing. In fact, it has to be said that as nice as this looks, and it does indeed look nice, you know, these wrists are just, there you go, not up to the job, sadly. It's just no good. So with that in mind, maybe it's time to swap out those hands. Now they do just come off like that at this very, very tiny little ball joint. One can't help but feel that that could have been a better design. And then the new hands just tab on or peg on. There we go, got it. And that's the more molded hand in its place instead. And yeah, already that feels way more solid than the posable hands. So, you know, that could be an option for you. Maybe that's one to consider instead. And lo and behold, with that new hand in place, it does feel, you can see just there, way more secure. I mean, it will move, you know, obviously as it's designed to, but it's a lot tighter, a lot tighter. Right, well, let's go ahead and take a look at this display stand. And as we've already heard, it's got some noise features, etc. So the first thing you want to do is just plug in the actual stand section on top. That plugs in very securely, like so, and it can be adjusted up and down. It's also got these lights on the side which can move if indeed you want them to. And then you've got this cable that comes with it, which you're just going to plug in to the reverse. Now, it did work before without the cable in, so I'm guessing that maybe it charges up or whatever else. You don't need to have it there. But then you also get this little plug, which you're going to need an adapter for. Fortunately, I have one, so I'll go ahead and get that plugged in and let's take a look. Right, so there we go. We've got the stand all plugged in. We've got Optimus posed up, and we're just going to turn it on at the back here. And then I think if you press some of the buttons, you can control the lights, which just go on and off. So that's one thing. And the sounds. Well, a little bit of sound anyway. So if you press the middle button just here on the remote.
Cybertron has fallen. Get to the escape pods. There are other Autobots scattered across the galaxy. We must reach them if we hope to survive. This is our hope. We have to fight for.
Okay, so B, if you just keep pressing B, then I guess you get a different sound effect each time.
Cybertron has fallen. Get to the escape pods. Old friend, you kept this planet safe. Because of you, we have a future, B1. Sorry, Mike, get a little traffic.
It's very temperamental.
We will fight on, regroup, rebuild, and retake our home. But we must find refuge first. You will travel to Earth. Once we've gathered the others, we'll join you. You must protect the planet. If the Decepticons find it, then our people are truly finished. Stay safe, soldier. I am coming.
Yeah, that's probably enough of that, isn't it? I'm just going to turn it off at the back there so we don't accidentally get it going off again. I don't know. My honest assessment is that I think you could get the regular version of this guy and be absolutely fine without that display stand. To be completely honest, I think it's very gimmicky. It's not something I particularly feel like I need or whatever else. Do you know what I mean? It's fine. The actual electronics of it feel a bit temperamental as well. At no point do I feel like, even with this remote, that I'm particularly in control of what's going on. It just feels very random. So you certainly don't want this thing going off in the middle of the night, let's put it that way. But if you're into this kind of thing, you know, it is what it is. Right then, we're going to take a look at the final bit of the accessories, which of course is the little swap out pieces to give him more of an earthen look. So here, as I mentioned earlier, you've got the kind of Cybertronian-esque appearance for the robot mode, but you can just go ahead and swap these out. So these pieces on the shoulders, just untab, very, very simply like that. And then you've got an equivalent piece, which is, you know, much more kind of got an earthen look to it with the smokestacks and whatever else that plugs in just there on the side. So that's really, really easy. The next piece is on the arms. It's just this piece on the side, which just sort of folds down like so and should just unclip. Oh, there we go. The whole joint's come out, so we'll just need to reassemble that. Right, well, I've managed to get this grey piece back in. That's the joint that, that the new piece has got to clip onto. And then you've got this more earthen piece of armour, or whatever you want to call it, instead. So that should just clip back in. It's quite fiddly to do, not going to lie. There we go, it's clipped. And that should now just tab back in on the arm. And there you go, that's what it's supposed to look like. Next, you want to take off these pieces just on the front of his arms. So they just unpeg very, very easily, like so. There we go. And then there are replacement pieces for those, which just go on quite simply in their place. Although that one doesn't want to peg. Yep, that's not going to go. So I've got the left one on, his left, not mine, but this one on the other arm just doesn't want to go at all. There we go. I think, yeah, that's just about holding now. Almost like the peg is just not quite the right size. But still, it has gone. It has gone. I do have a bit of a scratch on this one as well, which is annoying, so quite noticeable. So that's detracting from the old look a little bit. Anyway, that's what the arms look like with the new pieces installed. So you can see just from the side, he's now got smokestacks, a bit more, you know, kind of akin to his earthen appearance. This piece on the side, the front there. The smokestacks are weird as they've got no real definitive resting place. They just kind of slide up and down a little bit, I guess for transformation, but they actually do go down quite far. It could have done with kind of locking in a bit better than that, I think. Right, then you want to come down to the legs because we're going to swap out these tyres for the more earthen look. So these just kind of unpeel like so, revealing the bare wheels underneath. There you are. And then you want the equivalent tyre like that, which just obviously goes on in its place. That's very easy to do. There are, of course, 2 more tyres to do for the front section as well, but we'll need to do that during transformation as they're hidden inside the main body at the moment. I guess on that basis, you could argue that it doesn't make a major difference overall, and, you know, aesthetically, it's not miles away from where it was, but still, if anything, it's a nice attention to detail on Toyworld's part, you know, and it does give him 2 kind of slightly different looks, you know, with the tyres, the wheels, the arms, everything. So, you know, it's appreciated. So what to say about this robot mode overall? Well, I think, you know, all things considered, it's pretty decent. It's got to be said. It's, you know, poses really nicely, looks fantastic. I mean, the sculpt, the design, all of that kind of side of things is just, you know, it's a no-brainer. It just looks wonderful. And if you are just going to stick this guy on the shelf, you know, there's a lot to be said for him in that regard. I think where it is let down a little bit is some of the, you know, the joints, like in the wrists. That's the biggest offender for me, is the wrists, if I'm honest. That's just a bit unforgivable. I think when you're going to put this much time and attention into a toy of this kind, to have the wrists kind of flopping around is just, I mean, it's just poor, frankly. You know, and the mouth as well, that's really annoying. This chest piece not really tabbing in. So there are a couple of definitely, you know, like definite big faults in that regard. But overall, other than those sort of, you know, little touches, whatever else, it does clean up really, really nicely. Right, well now it's comparison time, one of my favourite bits of any video review, and we're going to check him out with some different Optimus Primes today. Firstly, we're going to start with this guy, which is MPM4 Optimus Prime, the official movie masterpiece toy. And yeah, to be clear, this is the official toy, not a KO. So you can see how these two scale together, and whether that works for you, or if indeed it's a consideration to even begin with. There you go. Next, we'll see the Generation 1 version. So this is MP44. Optimus Prime, there you go. Same height as MPM4. Yeah, you can see how they scale together there. And this is such a weird comparison, seeing the ultra cartoony look here and the kind of very grounded movie Bumblebee accurate one here. It's, I don't know, it just looks really, really bizarre. You can see how close they are, in terms of overall look, but not aesthetic, I guess, is the way to look at it. Very, very funny. But yeah, it's interesting to see. Next, we're going to go third party, and this is Unique Toys Challenger. There you go, bit taller this one. And of course, that's representing the Age of Extinction or Last Night version of the character. So you can see how that looks just there. Yeah, quite different. Hard to believe that he went from this to this within the space of one film, hey? But there you go. Next, we're going to bring in another official masterpiece toy, and this is the movie masterpiece Bumblebee. That was released of the Bumblebee movie mold. He's quite a small little chap. There you go, it's a comparison. They don't really scale together at all, but there you go. And now we're going to move on to what I suspect will be what a lot of people are looking to pair with this guy, in terms of toys. This is the 3-0 Bumblebee, the deluxe scale version. And this is, of course, a non-transforming toy, but it's not a statue or anything like that. It's a full action figure. And here you can see how they scale, and I think that works really, really well. Old Toyworld Freedom Leader is roughly the same height as the 3-0 Optimus Prime, so perhaps it's no great surprise that actually this works quite well in terms of scale. And they do look quite good together. If you're into the idea of having, a Bumblebee lineup, this could work for you, I think. And now we're going to continue with 3-0 products. Here is their Blitzwing, which is an absolutely gorgeous toy, can I say? Absolutely gorgeous figure. Just beautiful. The finish is breathtaking, everything else. And there you can see the scale of these two. I think that works well. Again, they don't actually meet in the film, but still, it's fun to see. And finally, we're going to bring in the 3-0 Prime. And here you go. And super interesting to see this comparison, because they are very, very similar in a lot of regards, and actually you could almost be forgiven for not knowing which was which just based on a picture, but actually in hand, there's a lot of differences. You can definitely see that. There are some things aesthetically that I do really like about the Toyworld version, but on the whole, I have to say, the 3-0 product is just breathtaking in hand. It really is absolutely breathtaking. It's more accurate to the film as well, so that's definitely a big plus. There's a lot of kind of proportional stuff and whatever else, things like the thighs, the back, that is more accurate, but just the level of detail on offer here, and certainly the fit and the finish and the quality is, to me, definitely better than Toyworld. So, the Toyworld one is good. Obviously, it's lacking a little bit some of the polish and things like the hands. 3-0 has that going on in spades, for sure. So I think, obviously, there's a couple of things like the hands on the Toyworld version. They're a little bit lackluster, whereas there's really no qualms about that on the 3-0 version. And, it just comes across as very solid, very intricate, hugely detailed, and I love it. Gosh, anyone would think it was a review for this guy, right? That said, the Toyworld version still looks fantastic. Some people might like the stockier proportions that it's got going on, because it does look slightly beefier. I'm surprised to see it's a bit taller actually as well. I thought they might, if anything, sort of be the same height. So it really is preference. I was gonna say that I think if you aren't fussed about these guys transforming and you just want one for the shelf, that doesn't need to transform, for me, it's 3-0 all the way. Personally, that's just me. But I think, if you want it to transform,
certainly Freedom Leader is a good option in that regard. Of course, one thing I do definitely want to check out with the 3.0 toy, which is this one, this is 3.0 in case you can't tell the difference when Toyworld's off camera, is the spare head that comes with Toyworld. Because this is the stock head that comes on the 3.0 version. I really love it actually, so I am a bit baffled by this inclusion from Toyworld, got to be honest. But it just pegs off like that, it's on a little ball joint, very simple. And then the other one, the Toyworld head kind of comes on a little mount, but again, it's just, you just take it out, plug the ball joint back on, and there you go. And it does look cool, I've got to say. I mean, it does look really nice, but the major feature here is that then you press a little button in the crest, and of course the eyes light up. And that is how the Toyworld eyes are supposed to light up on, you know, on that head, on that figure's head as well. But as I say, I cannot get it to work for love nor money. This actually looks really decent, I have to say. I like that look quite a lot. So yeah, nice. I mean, it'd be good for some photos, certainly. I mean, look, I swear I'm not trying to make this an advert for the 3.0 toy, but that does look pretty marvelous, right? Like, it's a very good looking toy, and the light up eyes are cool in that regard as well. Probably worth just doing a bit more of a straight up comparison of these two heads. So you can see on the left here, we've got the Toyworld head for the 3.0 toy. And here on the right, you've got 3.0's actual head sculpt, which obviously comes with the toy. Not confusing at all. But yeah, they both look really cool. Quite different, I guess, stylistically. I mean, to be honest, I do really like the 3.0 head, so I don't know that I'll be swapping that out. And it is a weird inclusion, as I say, for Toyworld to include that head, because realistically, you know, to use it, it kind of implies that you've bought both toys, right? Which, I mean, you know, obviously I do have them both in hand, but that's not going to be for everybody, certainly. So strange, very strange. Anyway, I've gone ahead and put the default head back on my 3.0 figure, just for now anyway, so let's carry on with the old comparisons. I mean, perhaps it's worth mentioning that the 3.0 version is way more articulated as well, so there's a lot of joints and articulation on this guy that the Toyworld version just doesn't have, you know, things like the way that the body moves and whatever else. Also worth noting, if you just turn them around a little bit like so, just how much cleaner the 3.0 version is overall. I mean, that's on account of not having to transform, whereas you do definitely get some backpack and whatever else going on with Freedom Leader, although it's still, I mean, it's exceptionally clean, right? Like, you can't really argue too much for a transforming toy. So it's you know, it's completely up to you. I do think that Toyworld have done an awesome job with it. Absolutely amazing. I think if you're just looking for a really nice robot mode, for me it would be 3.0. That's just how you know, how I kind of think of it anyway, personally speaking. But of course, that's a good cue to check out the transformation on the Toyworld version, because that's really the big plus. So let's go ahead and do that. God, why? Why? Fucking hell, oh my... Wow, where to start with this one? That was, I mean, not fun. Let's start by saying not fun. In fact, I'll go beyond that. Without a word of hyperbole, I can honestly say that that is categorically one of the least fun transformations that I've done on any Transformers toy ever. Like, without question, right? It's just, there's like a real exercise in frustration. I mean, there's just, well, as you can see, it's not finished. I've done my best with it, I promise. Like, don't judge me, but genuinely, I cannot get these tabs on the side to go where they're evidently supposed to. I mean, they just will not go. Try as I might, squish as I might, however much force I use, and believe me when I say that everything in here is, I'm convinced, aligned as it's supposed to be. I mean, I've taken it apart 3 times, tried to wrangle it, whatever else, and it just won't go. I mean, if I fold down this little panel just here, you can see that there's this little tab on the side that's supposed to connect into, on this sort of top window piece, and it just doesn't want to go. I actually think that the tab might be a little bit too big, or something's not right, because it's just not going. Honestly, not going. And don't get me started on these bits that pop off like multiple times throughout the whole process. It's yeah, honestly, a real exercise in frustration, the whole thing. And it's just not good. I mean, it's really not good. It kind of calls into question the whole nature of, do you actually want this thing to be able to transform to begin with, to be honest? I mean, I say that not lightly, as, it's perfectly possible that you won't have this problem with these little panels on your copy, but even then, the clearances are just not as they're supposed to be. It's just, I can't be more frank than saying this is not how toys should transform, right? There's various bits that flip around and contort, like this panel here at the top, which has got the head on the underneath, rotates, and there isn't enough clearance simply with these sort of window pieces to get it around. You're trying to force stuff. You've got plastic rubbing against plastic, metal, and things are clanging together. And various times I thought to myself, hang on, have I done something wrong here? Oh no, that is actually how it's supposed to be. It's just that you have to really force it a few times to get stuff to where it's where they want you to have it. And it's just not good in that regard. Do you know what I mean? It's not fluid engineering. I know that a lot of Takara Tomy stuff, recent masterpieces, I mean, MP44 especially, come in for a bit of a kicking from some people for being complicated. But let me be clear, yes, MP44 is complicated, but still, it's fluid, it transforms as it's supposed to. When you're moving panels around, they're not rubbing against each other. Put the things about paint rub or whatever to one side, but actually that toy, I find, is way more fun to transform than this is. It's like Takara Tomy understand how to make something that's complicated, but still things go where they're supposed to go when it works as it's designed to, if that makes sense. Whereas this, as I say, it just at times feels like a real exercise in frustration. I mean, it doesn't help that, as I say, bits keep popping off. You've got this front section here which needs to be realigned about I don't know, 18 times, I think. I mean, I'm exaggerating now, but a lot of times, let's say. This is, I don't know, you move one thing, something else pops out of place. It's a very difficult transformation, not necessarily in terms of its design, and actually, to be fair to it, there is some clever stuff in here. In theory, if this all went and tabbed together, like butter, then I would say it was very clever. I don't think it's too complicated so much as just actually, things don't go where they're supposed to go, or the way it's kind of designed as, the execution of it doesn't hold together very well. I guess in that regard, it's kind of the opposite of MP44. MP44 is complicated and, intricate, but very fluid. This is less complicated, but not fluid. And that is my honest appraisal. I feel like the instructions don't really help you out though. This is just one A4 page, one A4 piece of paper, one-sided. It's 32 steps, and the drawings are tiny. They're dark blue, and it's very, very hard to make out the detail. And then yellow, so dark blue and yellow, and that's kind of what you get given. And it really is difficult to tell. That said, even when you do figure out what you're meant to do, it's then hard to execute as well. So go figure. And you know what, honestly, I think it's a real shame, as in theory, there's a wicked truck mode here, like really good truck mode, potentially. If you could get everything tabbed in just so, this thing would look great, honestly. How clean would this be at the side? If I could get all of that tabbed in beautifully, it would be super clean, really nice kind of looking doors, which is quite unusual actually for a lot of Optimus Prime truck modes. Yeah, all right, there's a bit of paneling going on, but it really would look superb and very, very clean. Even the sort of rear view, if I just turn this around, take the feet out of the equation, and actually all of this is exceptionally clean, really, really good. You don't see a lot of, the kind of bed part here. You don't see that as clean as this on a lot of Optimus truck modes, right? That is exceptionally good, better than MP44 in that regard. And yeah, there's a bit of, robot stuff here, but by its very nature of its design, and the kind of aesthetic of it being quite robotic, it's sort of, relatively well hidden. The feet are an eyesore, no question. The feet are a bit of an eyesore, and that, to be fair, that is something that a lot of Optimuses struggle with. These are particularly kind of bad, let's say, because they really do just hang there like two big lumps. The instructions show you kind of pushing them in a little bit. I cannot figure that out for love nor money. I don't think that is actually a thing, because there's nowhere for them to go. But even then, they do, as I say, they just hang off the back there quite obviously. So yeah, that's unfortunate, because again, take them out of the equation. Otherwise, I think it's very good. And again, the finish is beautiful. It really could look like something. You've got this old like weathered paint on there. Areas such as the wing mirrors look great with the kind of damaged chrome and whatever else. Same on that bumper section, which just looks, really, really something. Honestly, it's really, really nice. I kind of like the discoloration effect that they've got going for here. Weathered paint all along here. Even the kind of little molding. There's a lot to admire here in terms of the design, and I really do think that if it all tabbed correctly, that it could look stunning. Gonna have to pull them up on this though, because that's definitely paint chipping going on there, which is really, really unfortunate. I guess you could write it off as being part of the weathered pattern that this guy's got going on, the weathered paint, but no, lo and behold, that's definitely paint chipping going on there. And again, this panel, where it is, the way it's folded inside robot mode, when you flip it out, there's just no clearance for it, so it rubs up against absolutely everything else that's going on here, and hence you've got paint chipping. So, and I did have more than a few flecks of red paint left on the mat when I was done transforming this guy. Also, I have to mention these smokestacks, as I know I said that they were annoying in robot mode a little bit, but here they just do not want to stay at all. This one's a little bit better, but even then, there we go. No, it just falls back down again. Oh no, there you go. So they I think they are meant to be raised up a bit like that, but they're just never going to stay. This one actually has a tendency to fall down all the way like that, which is really annoying. But yeah, it's just not good QC. Oh Lord, and don't even get me started on these windscreen wipers at this point, because I've just had it with them. Honestly, they pop off multiple times. They never ever go where they're supposed to go. yeah, I really am done with them, to be honest. Now, of course, I have just swapped out the final 2 tyres here, which, you know, obviously we couldn't do in robot mode because they were concealed inside the body. So that's giving you the last little bit of the sort of earthen look. It would be very weird to see this guy with the Cybertronian parts on, because I just don't think it would work ultimately. You know, it's designed to be an earthen truck, clearly. And so, you know, realistically, you may as well just leave these tyres on when you put him back into robot mode. So I guess given the sort of level of frustration involved with getting this thing into truck mode is, you know, it raises the question, as I say, do you need this thing to transform? Because a lot of people have said to me, you know, all right, the 3.0 version looks nice, but it doesn't transform. And realistically, if you're never ever going to worry about actually transforming it, yeah, I know a lot of people like to know that the toys can transform, but are you actually going to do it? Like, are you going to take the time to go through this process on a regular basis? Because if that's not important to you, or you're not going to be doing that, I would seriously give consideration to the 3.0 version. Yes, it's non-transforming, but it's solid, it's well made, it's beautiful, it's more articulated than this in robot mode. You know, the aesthetic is spot on to the film, and it's just an incredible figure. Honestly, really, really is. But look, that's not to say that there aren't positives about Toyworld as well. It's just, in terms of the transformation, if you're getting this over 3.0 purely on the basis that it can transform, just be aware of what you're letting yourself in for, right? Like, don't have too much expectation about that being, you know, the thing that makes your decision, if that makes sense. So where am I at with this guy overall? I mean, I feel like we're leaving on a bit of a sour note now, right? Like, because genuinely I was quite impressed with the robot mode overall. Yes, it had its flaws, you know, I mean, the QC is a bit iffy in places, like the wrists are not good, you know, they're too loose. I mean, I think you could probably fix that with a little dab of super glue, but still not great. You know, you've got things like the way that the this section kind of tabs into the robot mode body that just feels too loose, and that is annoying when you're posing him. You've then got stuff with the accessories, like, I mean, look, let's be honest about that display stand. You know, I don't know if it's worth it. I mean, if you're umming and ahhing about whether to get the deluxe version or not, I would say personally, I would question whether you really need that stand or not. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of a nice inclusion, but for the extra money, you know, go figure. That's up to you. But for me, even with the standard version, you know, there are just a couple of elements that don't work. Like the electronics on the guns are a little bit questionable in places. The one gun works maybe 50% of the time, you know, it's a bit unreliable. And then obviously the transformation is, well, we've talked about it. But that said, there are positives as well. You know, I really like the design. You know, it does feel solid on the whole. It's nicely articulated on the whole. You know, it's a good looking toy. You know, the weathering pattern is really nice. You know, and there are a lot of positives about the design in general, all of which we've covered today. It's just that then we've left it on a bit of a bum note, and it's kind of made me feel like actually this whole package is a bit of a mixed bag. That's what I would say. It's not wholly bad, it's not wholly good, it's a real mixed bag. And on that basis, I feel kind of unprepared at this point to give it like a real toot or boot, you know? Like, I honestly couldn't tell you. What I am going to do is spend some more time with it, try and figure out what's going on with this, and then I'm going to do the full pictorial review, you know, for Tia Source's blog, take some pictures of it, and then hopefully by that point I'll have figured out whatever the problem is here, and then I can make a proper judgment. As it stands for today, I would say that I am disappointed because I was super excited about this project from the beginning, and I feel like the execution, particularly in terms of the transformation, is just a bit lacking in that regard. And so it makes me question, why not just stick with the 3.0 toy, right? If this is going to be no fun to transform to begin with, then why not just have the non-transforming version that looks awesome? That's kind of where I'm at the moment. But I am going to give it another chance. I'm going to try and sort it all out. And then, you know, as I say, we'll do the full pictorial review for Tia Source's blog, and I'll give my final verdict then. So yeah, and you know, I always try and be honest about these things and say where I'm at with it, and I hope that kind of comes across. I'm really not trying to sugarcoat any of this, but equally I'm not trying to just like give it an absolute drubbing. Do you know what I mean? Because there are things that I like about it at the same time. Yeah, so I'm in a contemplative mood about it at this point, but I'm a little bit disappointed, it's fair to say. Anyway, that's probably a good point to leave it. So thank you indeed for watching and listening to me rant on today.
So that's Toyworld's Freedom Leader. I'll put a link to TF Source's listing for this guy in the video description, and I'll be aiming to get the full photo review up on their blog ASAP. Now don't forget to put your answers for today's quiz questions in the comments below, and here are the correct answers for the last video. Thanks to everyone for playing along. Now a big thank you also for watching today, and don't forget to drop me a like if you enjoyed the video, and a quick final shout out also to everyone who supports me on Patreon. Otherwise that's it from me, so enjoy the rest of your day. TTFN.